and welcome to another episode of Los Banos Talk. My name is Justin Collins. In today's episode, I'm going to be interviewing Manuel Hernandez, who is a local Los Banos resident who reached out to me recently via my website and
Awesome.
wanted to talk to me about his perspective of the city from the vantage point of being in a wheelchair and the different extra barriers that he has to face navigating the city in the various parts of the city that are not very handicap accessible. I thought it was an excellent idea, and so I wanted to bring him on the show and allow him to tell his story and give his perspective to us so that we might learn from him. And we're going to get into that in just a moment, right after a brief message from our sponsor.
So a lot of people ask what our academy has to offer. First and foremost, we are a martial arts academy. We have a very structured curriculum. Parents always ask me, why should we bring our children here? Like, what can you have to offer us? And, I've been teaching probably since I was 13 years old. And I knew that I always wanted to do martial arts. I solely focus on teaching and trying to be the best mentor and just inspire today's youth through kicking and punching.
And we're back. Thanks for watching. So without further ado, I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
Thank you very much. My name is Manuel, and I've been a paraplegic now for about 9 years. So for those 9 years, I've been living here in Los Banos, and I have my share of struggles as well, when I'm around the community. So I just wanted to also bring awareness from my point of view of what I had to deal with when I had to be out there in the street getting around.
Very well. So you provided me with some videos that you recorded to kind of show and demonstrate how difficult it is on some of the streets for you to get through. If I'm not mistaken, some of the videos, it seems like many of the intersections, we don't have ramps at our sidewalk. And as a result, you usually have to go far out of your way and use a driveway as essentially a ramp.
Yes.
And then sometimes you have to go pretty far out of your way to try to navigate around. Can you talk a little bit more about that and some of the areas?
Yeah. So for the most part, I want to say about 80% of the time, I'm mostly on the road and on the sidewalk. For what you just mentioned, there is no ramps on every corner of the street for me to just keep on going my way. Now that causes a lot of struggle for me because it puts more time to, if I have to go at a certain place, let's say a doctor appointment, I have, it takes me longer to get there. So sometimes I get there, in a later time. Not only that, but it puts more strain in my body because since I don't have function on my lower body anymore, my arms have pretty much become my legs, So with that extra wheeling, it stresses my body more. I get more fatigue, and there's times where within those cracks or because it's not completely flat, I end up bumping. Sometimes I end up not falling completely, but I just get tossed around more. And it also causes damage to my chair.
So you mentioned that a lot of the time you're actually really on the road. You're not on the sidewalk because you really can't get on the sidewalk or it's impractical for you to use the sidewalk. So I guess kind of my question is how safe do you feel? Because I hear a lot. I mean, there are stories of people that get run over
Mhm.
or people who are on bicycles and get run over. And it sounds like basically, in a way, you're kind of having to use the bicycle lane,
Yes.
more or less. So, I mean, how safe do you feel having to be on the road as opposed to being on the sidewalk?
You know, truthfully, I don't feel safe because for the most part, cars do tend to pass really close by me. I understand they do see me, so in order sometimes, I guess, so that they can't, have to deal with me being in their way, they rush, and by doing that, it distracts me from me wheeling. So I tend to either, make a quick swerve to the side of the street, or try to stop and find a way to get on the sidewalk. So yeah, I don't feel really safe when I'm in the bike lane for most of the time.
Have you had any kind of scary moments or close calls where you feel like someone was gonna hit you or came close to or just really kind of startled you?
Yes, actually, yesterday before when I was down on H Street and I Street, I stopped in the bike lane so I could go across. And as I was turning around, cars did stop, but on the, I want to say going towards Apex, this van, I mean, just rushed by me. I was about to move and this, it just rushed by me. So if I didn't pull back, then I want to say I was inches from getting hit.
What part of town would you say is maybe the least accessible? Like the most inaccessible to someone who's in a wheelchair?
I want to say H Street, rare. Yeah, that area to me is very inaccessible for the fact that, like I said, I have to cut through a lot, like going through the road. Cars have to stop, in their way where there's hardly any stop signs. They have to stop in the middle of the road to let me pass. So I want to say that whole area there is very inaccessible for somebody in a wheelchair.
So I'd like to show some of the footage that you've taken of some of the areas to the audience, and then we can kind of talk about it.
Okay. So I'm in the corner of I Street and 2nd Street. As you can see, there is some traffic coming along both sides. Now, when I make my way in terms, because I go to Apex, which is down that way, there is no other way to cross from there. There's only one stop sign, as you can see, and there is no crossway or lines to cross for me when I have to go that way. So as you can see, sure, the cars do stop when they see me. Right now I'm in the sidewalk. But if I get on the street to go that way, you will see what I'm talking about in a moment. As you can see, they only have one stop sign right there, no stop sign there, or anywhere near here, okay? So I'm gonna make my way across that street right now. Just bear with me at the moment. I'm just gonna let as many cars pass by. As you can see, it's a busy street. Excuse me if you guys can't hear me. I'm trying to talk as loud as I can when the cars pass by. So I will get to it right now. I'm just putting the phone in my pocket, making my way towards Pete's Barber Shop. See, look at the cars. Look at the cars. Look at the cars. Look. There's another one coming, about to cross. And he did stop. So, see what I mean? Right here in the sidewalk, there is no ramp for me to go up right here. They only have the bike lane. The rest is pebbles. It's not fully concrete. So I will turn around so you can see here. I'll go back. Excuse the movement. Boom. I Street and 2nd Street. No ramp for a handicapped person to go up the sidewalk. So if I wanted to go from there to over there, I would have to keep going all the way straight and cross, which is still kind of dangerous, like I said, because of traffic. Right now cars do seem to slow down because I'm recording, but when I don't, they usually don't stop. Yes. Okay. So for me, if I want to keep going and keep crossing the street, I have to go all the way, which is fine. There's a bike lane, but sometimes there's cars parked or they pass by me really close. So this is really crucial for somebody in the wheelchair right here. If I want to go, like I say, I will have to go all the way up there and because there's a ramp when the cars go down, and then I would have to make my way back, which I would still have to go through the dirt, which is no problem. But like I said, I'm just bringing awareness because of this section right here. It's not handicap friendly. Yeah, so as you saw in the beginning of the video, there was a red car and a white car. As soon as the white car went, the other one didn't even bother stopping. He just followed by, and at that moment, when I was about to cross, I was moving and I finally got down the sidewalk. Cars saw and they just kept going, So if I would have just kept going and didn't stop at that time, one of those cars would have hit me. So I understand it's a busy street, but there's people, like I said, like myself, that I had to get around, and it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. There's no other safe passage for somebody in a wheelchair like myself. Not just in a manual wheelchair. I've seen people in like scooters, power wheelchairs too, that just have to wait until there's no more traffic coming or someone finally decides to stop and let us go,
Right. One of the things with our city is kind of like the infrastructure is really lagging behind. And so there's a lot of places where there's not even a sidewalk, it's like dirt, like you said. And then there's many places where there are sidewalks, but we don't have any kind of ramp. We don't have sidewalk paint. It basically means like you kind of have no choice but to kind of really jaywalk, and then you have no choice but to use the bike lane, because realistically there's no way you can get up on the sidewalk, and in that case there really isn't even a sidewalk anyway. It just goes to dirt. So I mean, that's an example of like one place in town that's like a real struggle. Let's look at another example.
Okay. So as I said, I mentioned, I just went up one block from where I was in the beginning. And I just wanted to show you, even though it's also a busy street, they have more of a accessibility for someone, for myself in a wheelchair, just from one side. So on the side of the rail trail, it's easy for me to go. Sure it is. But on the other side where it's not, there is the sidewalk, but it's not completely concrete. It's still dirt. It's pretty much grass. I did take a video of it so you could see it, so you can see. So even though I can cross, I still have to go on the bike lane. So during business hours in that street, there is cars still parked on the side. So I have a limited amount of space in the bike lane for me to go, and cars still pass really close by me. But once I hit the corner of H Street, then I can get on the sidewalk, But I still have to go up like a block up and then go through the driveway for the whatever apartment complex is there, so that I can get safely on the sidewalk. So I just wanted to show you the difference between that part of the busy street and the other busy street where there's hardly any stop sign. Okay, so right now I'm in the corner of H Street and 2nd Street, just one street ahead. Now I want you to look at the difference. Here you can see the ramp there. Go straight, you see the ramp over there. There's a ramp over there. And also the way at the corner is a ramp over there. So I just want you guys to look at how different there is. There's no problem here. I don't know if it's because the section of cities, they're trying to make some look better than others, and then they just forget about the rest over there. Now, here, because I came down from 2nd Street all the way straight, okay? I came down, so when I cross from there, and if I want to keep going straight, I would have to get on the bike lane section because the rest of that is not fully concrete. It's all dirt and field. It's all dirt and field over there, as you can see. So I went to get on the bike lane, and there's cars parked there during business hours. So I have a limited amount of space, and still the cars seem to.
So I want to talk about that real quick. So with the bike lane, right?
Mhm.
That's really not a great solution either because I mean we talked about it, it's dangerous, technically you're not supposed to be there, etc. Um, but also sometimes cars are parked in it. And I
Yes.
guess when that happens, then you really have to get into the road. And then it's really dangerous, or you just basically don't use it at all.
No, I do, I do use it because also depending on the weather, I can't really go on the dirt because it gets muddy, so I can get stuck, and I can't really get out of it unless I ask for help. So as I mentioned before, for the most part, I'm on the road, trying to get from one place to the other, but also keep looking back, make sure that there's no cars coming. If I do see that there's you know several cars coming at once, then I usually just pull over and let them pass, and then I keep going my way. Or I try to find a way to get to the sidewalk as quick as I can, and then just go on from there, and then try to find a way to get down again.
Okay, so we're gonna watch another video that you provided.
Okay, so I am currently in my block of Santa Monica and Santa Barbara. Now, what I want you to look at here is here in this corner, there is a ramp to go down. So it is there on the other side of the street. So around this time is where a lot of traffic
Pause the
starts
video
to come
here
out,
there
as you can see. Um,
Yeah.
So as I was recording there, as you saw, there was a car passing by. And I'm sorry, there was a really loud noise. And what happened was, if you see that truck there that's parked, it had nothing, so a big piece of furniture fell. So I don't know if that time the guy felt like I was filming him, but it was not. I was just trying to show you, how people go fast and they don't really pay any attention to their surroundings.
Now, forgive me once more for the noise. I will try to show you guys how it looks. See, on that corner over there, there is no ramp. Same thing over there. There is no ramp in that corner. And I think something happened. I think the guy there dropped something, fell out of his truck. So I will show you my route, what I had to go through when I had to go to PC, what I go through when I have to go to school. So in order for me to get to this sidewalk here, I have to go through the neighbor's driveway ramp. And there you see here, there is no down ramp for me to get up with. Again, Santa Barbara and Santa Monica, no ramp. The other ramp is right there in this neighbor's corner house where the people are walking. Again, there's no ramp over there either. So for me to cross the street, I have to cross and wait for the cars to pass by. So give me a second. And pull back in pocket. Traffic right there. Cars coming. More cars coming. They don't stop. And they see me because I'm pretty far out. Another car coming. Bear with me. Okay, so now I have to cross. And have to keep turning back, make sure there's no cars coming as well. Now, as you can see, over there is where I would have to get on this ramp where I'm pointing at, right there at the neighbor's house, for me to get on the sidewalk, right? But all these sidewalks here from this whole block on Santa Barbara none of them have the ramp to go down anymore. And I will show you guys that in a moment. So in order for me to go from this street to that street over there, I would have to turn there and go down at least 2 to 3 houses and then come back outside and keep going straight. But again, there is no ramp for me to go on these corner streets, and I will show you. See what I mean? Cars coming really fast. Look, 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 look. Another one. And they see me. They see me.
So I want to take a moment and just kind of talk about a little bit of what we kind of saw here. Even if, so one, you have to use somebody's private driveway in order to get onto the sidewalk. But
Yes.
even if you got onto the sidewalk, it really isn't that useful because there's no down ramp to get off the sidewalk.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter in a way. I mean, you're kind of stuck on the road. And
Yes.
then people drive without really much regard or consideration to the fact that you're there on the road. They're not really stopping for you. They're not pausing. They're not slowing down. Um, and I was thinking to myself, 'cause I know how it'd make me feel. How does it make you feel um, when this people not stopping, not slowing down for you, but also that there's not really much accommodation in terms of the infrastructure either?
Yes. Well, it does make me mad. It makes me upset at times because, as you said, they don't consider me, that I'm there, that I can get hit. There's people sometimes that get distracted by something. They could turn their heads real quick because they're looking for a certain street, or maybe they get distracted by their phones and they could not see me, and they could just like that, I could get hit. As you had mentioned, people even that are able to walk or that are in bicycle, they get hit. There was a time here where a lot of people were getting run over, by drivers that were distracted. So yeah, I do get upset. I do get scared, because I have to keep looking out for them and making sure that I'm safe at the same time, so that there's no incident.
Do you get the sense that people in the community don't care about your situation? Like, do you feel like the reason why it doesn't really come up at the meetings, the fact that our sidewalks aren't handicap accessible, and the reason why nobody slows down when they see you trying to cross, does it make you feel like people don't care?
Yes. Why? Because the look of all the accidents that had happened, there's still not a lot of safety measures, to watch out, for drivers to watch out for people, Sure, I seen some road work, I seen certain spots where they had put like not sidewalk, stop signs, like it happened on Santa Barbara and Stonewood. That was good because I also go through that area. So there was a time where I had to wait for the cars to pretty much slow down, or there was no more cars, and I could pass. So yeah, it does make me a little upset that there's not much talk for public safety regarding, in the community, especially the disabled community. So I just had, after years of being a paraplegic and not seeing big change, um, it does make me upset, because somehow I'm still part of this community, and I would hate to find out that later on someone else in the wheelchair got hit or got, whatever, or they fell, because I myself have fallen plenty of times here, and I have, busted my legs, my knees, I have a lot, elbows, whatever. from all those cracks that are on the road or sidewalk.
I want to say that I'm glad that you came on the show, and I'm glad that you reached out to me, to want to do this, because that's a lot of what this is all about, is bringing attention and awareness to issues, finding solutions to issues, but it's also about giving people a voice in the community. And I definitely feel like the handicap portion of our community hasn't really been listened to much in the past years. And I think that's really evident just by the sheer lack of consideration for them when planning out our streets, our sidewalks, our buildings, our ramps, etc. So I think we'll continue on to another video that you have.
Okay.
So let's take a watch at this last video you provided.
But still on the road. Cars do move to the side when they see me. You can't see that one just passing by. See how he switching lanes again? Get close to his side. Yeah. Now, I can pretty much get myself around, but I have noticed more people in wheelchairs because Los Banos keep growing. So I have seen a couple people run my neighborhood in wheelchairs. You can see. So right now I'm in Santa Benita and Santa Barbara again. No stop, no ramp here. Traffic. Okay. Boom, all corners. Sorry for that. All corners. No ramp. No ramp. No ramp. No ramp. So, still dangerous, especially at night. When I have to come to the store at night, cars barely see me. Look how close that one got. Right there, that truck right there. Yep.
Can you pause right there?
Oh, okay. So
I think actually,
so in that part, if you notice that truck that passed by was the one that, this truck was the one that dropped something. So so they got their things going, I don't know, like I say, the guy felt like I was recording what happened. He passed really, really close to me, and it was pretty fast, like to where it shook my chair. When sometimes you're speeding or someone's speeding by you, sometimes, you can feel the rush, right? So that's exactly what I'm talking about there. There's some people that don't really take concern of somebody that's kind of sharing the road, and there's no bike lane right there. I'm probably maybe half a foot away from the sidewalk and the road, because since it's kind of slanted, I kind of have to balance myself with my chair so that I don't keep going to the side, or I get stuck in, if there's any storm drains, I don't get stuck there. But that's a perfect example right there of people not really taking in consideration who's sharing the road with them.
So, I mean, if we think about it, ideally, you should be able to use the sidewalk. That's where you should be, right? Because that is for pedestrians, and there should be ramps so you can access the sidewalk, and there should be crosswalk markings clearly marked, so that way you have a place where you could cross and cars are more obligated to stop for you. That would be the ideal. Maybe some more stop signs, etc. Now, plan B, because you don't have that, you end up using the bike lane a lot. But then even that, there's not even that much. But even if we had it, I mean, that's technically not what you ideally should be having to use either. So then what really happens is that basically you're on the road. And we all know the roads are pretty busted up in a lot of parts of town too. So the road's not really very ideal either.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess we could say so. There's parts of town that you would say maybe are fairly that are done well that have ramps, etc. And then but there's more parts that are not.
Yes.
So let's how much time would you say maybe you lose from having to navigate these extra barriers, etc., like say going to the doctor? Like how much longer do you think this makes you take?
Additionally, I say it adds an extra 20 to 25 minutes to my, to my time. So
One
let's say
way.
I have an appointment at 2:30. I have to leave my house maybe around 1:15 to 1:20, so I can get there close to that time. So yeah,
So
it adds that an extra more time to it.
so I mean you're really only going maybe a mile or less, and it takes you basically almost an hour to 50 minutes just because of all the lack of ramps, lack of crosswalks, the lack of consideration from other people yielding the roadway to you and having to navigate various I mean, it really feels like you're having to kind of it's almost like it's kind of funny to say, but it almost kind of reminds me of like a puzzle, like a video game, where it's like you're having to try to basically figure out a route. It would be simple to just, GPS and go, okay, take this street to here, to here, to here. But
Mhm.
really, you have to think, well, no, because some of these don't have ramps and some of these don't have bike lanes and some of these are gravel or dirt and today it's raining and so I don't want to get stuck in the mud and so you're having to really like calculate and strategize how you're going to get through basically past all those obstacles, really,
Yes.
if we're to be blunt, to get to point A to point B. I mean, that seems like a big waste of time. I feel like just going to I mean, so that's one way. So then I guess round trip, you lose probably like 2 hours, maybe a little less, just dealing with this.
Exactly. Yes. You know, it, it it also puts a lot of strain on my body because I had to do extra wheeling that is not necessary. So, as I mentioned,
Yeah.
my arms are now my new legs, and at the end of the day, like my shoulders, my elbows, they're just screaming from all the extra wing I had to do. Also from the tough terrain. The last time, one of the last times that I fell, I really really hurt myself. My knees, I scraped them really really bad. I was on my way, to do some community work, and as I'm riding, I thought I was gonna be able to clear this gap that was on the road, and I think I over kind of I lift my chair up too soon. So when I finally went down, the front tire hit that crack, and I mean I went flying. And I did scrape my elbows, I scraped my knees. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. So it got me upset to the point because, like I said, it wasn't the first time that I've fallen. I've fallen plenty of times. And for the most part, sure, I'll suck it up. But this time, it really bothered me of how hurt I got to the point where I even thought about suing the city. You know, and I looked it up online. I went to the ADA and I saw that California is the main state where there's been a lot of lawsuits. You know, for instance, Los Angeles, big cities, they get sued because of things like that. So they talk about it so that smaller communities don't get affected by things like that. It's not so much by people getting hurt or falling. It's just for the simple fact that the streets are not handicap accessible. Like, that's what you guys seen in this video.
Right. So I mean, I was thinking to myself, You know, I think one of the things about this story that's kind of tragic or kind of sad, really, is just that why does it need to get to that point? Why does it require someone to sue or the threat of lawsuit before anyone's interested really in taking action? You would think that just the fact that the desire to be inclusive and
Mhm.
want everyone in the community to be able to access it and be part of it would be enough in and of itself to make people want to ensure that our roads are handicap accessible. But in reality, it's kind of like it seems to only be dealt with when there's some kind of punishment.
Yes.
And now I think that some of this has to do with the fact that a lot of times you just don't think about it. Like I'll be honest, this topic has come up a few times. I've talked with some business owners in downtown, and they've actually brought this up to me a few times about the handicap accessibility feature, and it's interesting, and I think it's actually similar to you in this case, is that I've seen this. There's people in town, right? There's people in town who, were not in a wheelchair or anything like that. And they never really talk about it. They don't really care. They don't notice really because it doesn't affect them. And
Mhm.
then eventually they're elderly and now they need a mobile scooter or something. And all of a sudden now they're complaining a lot like, why has this never been dealt with?
Yes.
And like you yourself, I mean, 9 years ago, there was a time where you weren't, in a wheelchair, right? So, and I imagine maybe in that time, probably you didn't think about it too much either until once you had to deal with it. So I think these kind of conversations are good because, it's good to think about other people and empathize and try to put yourself in someone else's place. It shouldn't always require that it happened to you before you care about it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay. No, I see that. I see what you mean. Well, see, I would just want to bring awareness because I can deal with it. I have no problems for the most part. But I'm seeing younger kids now, a lot younger than me in wheelchairs. I've met a little boy and his mom one time in a wheelchair. So that got me thinking as well. I was like, if I'm out here and I see all the struggles, I wouldn't want this little kid as well to go be in the street one day where it's not really accessible for him and he can't get around like me, and then something tragic.
Right.
So,
I agree with you. I think basically the goal is let's do something about this now instead of waiting for someone to get killed or ran over and then we're forced to deal with it. Let's
mhm,
let's let's try to do something about it now before it gets to that point instead of waiting for that to happen and then start saying and pointing fingers and going, well, why didn't we, do this or who didn't do that? Let's try to get ahead of the problem. Uh,
yes.
so I want to really thank you for coming on the show. I think it's great that you took that footage to really show people because otherwise, there's really no way, like me, I would really notice that kind of thing or
Hmm.
really kind of experience it like that. I walk around town and I cross the street and obviously there's no ramp at most of the
Yes.
places, and it doesn't even really occur to me, because it doesn't affect me. And so I appreciate you bringing this perspective and this
Yeah.
viewpoint, and hopefully it kind of opens some eyes to this real issue. And I think there's some very workable solutions. I mean, legally, they basically have to fix it, but I think there's grants and things like that that can help fix this. And then there's Measure V. So there's some different things that should be able to fix this. So hopefully now with this awareness, our elected officials get on it. Um, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and doing this. And before I conclude it, is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience?
Yeah, also it's not just in our local communities. I have also met people in the homeless communities. As you mentioned, there are in wheelchairs, or they're like in scooters, whatever. I hear stories from them as well where sometimes they try to cross in different areas, and cars don't seem to stop, so, it's not just, me that's suffering, it's also in the homeless community that they're being, dealing with these same issues. I do some local charity work with my local church here of Nazarene, and I try to, in a way, educate them about it, to bring awareness to them, or have them tell me what, issues they're dealing with that when they're out on the street, so that I can somehow reach out to the right people and show them, that, hey, I'm not the only one that is dealing with this. There's more people out there. So I just want people to be considerate. Either people walking, or they're in chairs, or they're in bikes. It's like we're all part of this community. Regardless of our status. And we should care for one another in a way where we should all feel safe no matter where we at.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, if you haven't already, please like, follow, subscribe to Los Banos Talk. Once again, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, losbanostalk.com. My name is Justin Collins, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.